In this video, we're going to continue along the series of creating and living an ideal life. And we're going to focus on the third letter in our acronym. The acronym is DECAL. D for desire, E for engagement, C for creativity, A for action, L for love. Today we're going to focus on creativity and the many aspects of creativity that lend themselves to this ideal life. The premise as to why creativity is part of an ideal life, to me, is beyond explanation. I truly believe that our DNA contains, our psychic or our spiritual DNA contains the desire, the natural desire to create. Now, in a prior video, I discussed the idea that some people teach that you create reality. And I wanted to clarify that as opposed to thinking that I create reality and therefore I potentially get myself into a corner where I can become very disappointed and very down on myself because the reality that I'm trying to create just won't happen. And I use the example of trying to create, summer weather in the middle of the winter. In fact, we don't try to impose some fantasy reality over, the existing reality. Really what we strive to do is influence the reality that we've been given and create the reality that is our own. A very easy way to look at this is if you examine the earth, and human beings are born onto this amazing planet that has, I don't know if it's thousands or hundreds of thousands of different plants and animals and minerals and weather and phenomenon, just stuff that's, we experience it. I mean, personally, I love going to swim in the ocean. I love swimming off the beach. I don't like going too deep because I feel more confident when I'm being tousled around by the waves. I really enjoy that feeling. It's like the power of the earth throwing me around in a way that's not dangerous but feels very fun. And I've tried surfing too. I was just not that good at it. But surfing has that same sort of effect where you harness the power that the earth is generating and you make it fun. And you can go on YouTube these days and see people doing all sorts of amazing things, climbing up really steep mountains, or creating their own flying machines, or doing stuff in the ocean, or doing stuff on a basketball court, or these days on the calisthenics. The kind of stuff that people can do with their body is amazing. But generally, there is some materials that are given to us that we can't really create ourselves. Like, for example, you can't create a body that has a soul in it except through the means that is instructed, which is, a man and a woman come together in a sexual union, and if there's a fertilized moment, or however the language is, a child begins to be created. We cannot at will create those kind of things. There's something built into the human race, and those elements are, well, I'd like to think they're immutable, but I think sometimes we cross a line as far as playing with realities that I don't recommend playing with. But I don't want to get into a discussion about morals and about ethics and that kind of thing. I want to keep this focused in a practical way so that you can begin to recognize how creativity will make your life very, very engaging and meaningful. Now let's talk for a moment about the physical body. Because pretty much, a high percentage of people have a body which exists with a head and a mind and shoulders and arms and legs and a midsection. And there are some people that are born with, bodies that lack arms or lack organs or something. And personally, I don't really have a good explanation as to why this soul has this body and this soul has that body. But then you look around at people's bodies and what they choose to do with them. And some people's bodies are naturally very, very thin and maybe even considered skinny, and other people's bodies are naturally more muscular. And if they do work out with weights, their body responds, really quickly to that type of exercise. And other people have longer legs and they tend to do better in exercises that require, or sports that require more lower body strength. And other people tend to, gain weight easier. And some people really don't manage their appetite that well, and they can become obese. There's a full gamut of things. And I don't think anybody can deny that every individual has a creative responsibility to their physical flesh body. And yes, some people have certain genetics that lend themselves to better success in this area. But we're all given a body, and we're all given a sense of, how to eat and how to take care of the body. And there's tons of information out there on YouTube and on the internet in general that will give you pretty good guidance on how to, manage aspects of your body. So some people just want to have good health, and they're not that concerned with how lean they are. And other people want to be super lean. And other people want to be, really, really muscular, and they're willing to do anything, even if it's not healthy, to reach those states. So you see that you have the freedom to create the body that you want. When I say create the body, I don't mean you can't grow an extra limb. And if you're not happy with the size of various elements of your body, you can increase the musculature. But, for example, in my case, my hair, stopped growing in certain places, and there's not much I can do about that. I mean, I can go and take care of it, I suppose, through surgery or transplants, but that crosses a line for me that I don't want to do. So I just sort of accept that element of the aging process for myself. And other people have other challenges, and either they try to fix them through surgery, or they accept them and they do the best that they can, given what their particular body does or doesn't do. You can look at this element in another way. For example, the fruits of the earth and the products that grow on the earth. Generally, we can find various places. If you go out into the wild, you can find certain berries that are growing wild, or you can find maybe tomato plants, these things grow wild, and when they grow wild and are untended to, they don't necessarily produce the most prolific crop or harvest. We are given the opportunity to learn how to produce the crop through various trial and error, through pruning the plants in these seasons, through deciding when to plant and when to not, how to germinate a seed, when to take a small seed that's been germinated from the indoors and plant it outdoors, how much to water it, how much sun various plants respond to. And as a result of learning this behavior, the fruits that are generated by these plants improve in their size, in their texture, in their appearance, and ultimately in their taste. So if you want to create really, really tasty and organic and natural fruits and vegetables, you got to grow them on your own, because then you know exactly what has happened. But at the same time, don't expect that just because you buy a tomato plant at Home Depot and you plant it in your backyard, that you're going to have the best tomatoes of all time. Because you may have to learn how to treat those plants as they grow, and where to plant them, and what plants should be near them, and if you should fertilize them, and how often you should water them, and how to protect them against rabbits or squirrels and other insects. That learning process is part of becoming a good creator. Paying attention to what works, and ultimately we create for some kind of end result that provides a personal satisfaction. Because if you were to grow wonderful tomatoes, first of all, generally even one tomato plant will provide an abundance of fruit. And we love sharing those fruits. When we bite into a tomato and it's amazing, you want to share it with people that you care about. You want them to have it. You want them to have the same joyful experience. So there's an element of creating which ties into communication and connection. We tend to like to create things that we're really excited about, that have that mysterious quality to them, and then we want to share them with people, and hopefully there's an impact. People are affected in a positive way by the things that we share. I've met a lot of actors and musicians over the years, because for many years I had a desire to be a success in the music industry, and I've played guitar. And really that's sort of a common thread through people who make music and who make films and who do other more traditional creative things, creative arts, performing arts, is a desire to influence people, a desire to entertain people, and a desire to have an effect, a positive effect on people. Even comedians, even if they're just I love the idea that what I say triggers laughter in people, because when people laugh, they generally feel good. So the creative impetus comes from Well, for sure, it comes from a natural, organic element that's within the soul, a desire to express that which I experience, that which I believe is possible. I have an idea, I want to see it come to fruition, I want to create it. And the beautiful thing about the earth is that we are given this tremendous sort of palette of materials and ideas and, just stuff that we can amass to create the things that we want. I mean, even if just you're going to create a beautiful meal for you and your wife, or you and your husband, or you and your kids, or you and your new girlfriend, or whatever. There's excitement when you start to think about it and go like, okay, what does she like? What kind of vegetables does she like? What kind of sauces does she like? What kind of ethnic country cooking does she like? And then there's that excitement of, oh, I got an idea. I'm starting to visualize it. I'm starting to see, okay, it's going to be a vegetarian dish. I'm going to borrow some of the Indian spices and have a little hors d'oeuvre that's a little more Middle Eastern. And all of a sudden you're rushing out to the organic grocery store to get all the things because there's that spark of excitement. The spark of excitement is, it depends. Some people like different phases of the creativity. The idea phase and the sort of sitting around and thinking it through and maybe even brainstorming with other people, that can be really, really satisfying for some people. And other people go like, let's get on with it. I want to go and get all the materials and I just want to clear my house and get into the right mindset and get started. And other people, it's like, I can't stand all that, but really I love the end result, so I tolerate the various steps to get there. But man, when the meal is made, or when the script is finished, or when the song is ready to be played, or when I've gone to the gym and I'm happy with my body, or I made this new chair, or, I've made a new app, I made a website, whatever it is. When it's done, there's this sense of accomplishment that's very satisfying. Now, sometimes there's a sense of like, well, I'm pretty happy, but I could see how I could improve that. And don't be down on yourself if you put all your heart into something and when it's done you realize, oh, I could probably do it better the next time. That's kind of normal. It's the learning curve. So I want you to think about creativity as a necessity for a really meaningful life, for an ideal life. It doesn't mean every moment of every day has to be creative. But I really think that it's important that you prioritize that you are making things, and that can be, as I said, anything from, a real creative project like a new painting, or you want to build some furniture, or you want to, write a script, or you want to write a song. Those are kind of traditional creative arts. Or it's something like you want to make a useful piece of furniture, or you want to repair an element of your house, or you want to develop something in technology that facilitates your life. Maybe you want to develop a way to shut off the lights in all your house from lying in the bedroom. You just hit buttons on a panel. Even if you never market it on a global scale, and you get a patent and all that, you just find the satisfaction in producing something that is functional. When it comes to creativity, we really have to monitor the emotions that get stirred. For example, there is often an inspirational period when you have an idea, there's something that you want to make. Now let's say, for example, I got this great idea. It's my wife's and my anniversary, and I want to make this really beautiful meal for her, and I know she loves my cooking. So I get all excited, I got this idea, and I go to the Whole Foods, and man, I get to the section that's supposed to have what I want. I want this organic salmon or whatever it is, and they don't have any. And it's just, they just sold it out, and they're like, oh, we'll have some in a couple of days. And it's like, man, there's that disappointment. It's like now my plans are thwarted and I don't know what to do. I understand that feeling. It's very common that some obstacle comes up en route to you creating that which you are so excited about. And what's the solution? Is the solution to go home and mope and complain to your wife and say, I can't do it, and then sort of lay that burden upon her? No. The solution is to be flexible. And to go, okay, well, I had a plan, I had an idea, I have some disappointment, so either I can take a moment at the Whole Foods counter and go, am I going to go home and sulk for an hour, or can I handle this right now and move through it? And I recommend, if you have a meditation practice and you are regularly processing and addressing your emotional states, you'll find yourself able to move through difficult emotions, quicker and quicker and quicker. And that doesn't mean we're repressing or suppressing or ignoring them. In an example like what I mentioned, if I found myself at the counter and I really wanted this particular cut of meat and they didn't have any, yeah, I would feel disappointed. I might step back from the counter and just take a couple of breaths and feel that disappointment. But what I don't want to do is then surrender to that disappointment and begin to base the next few hours of my life on that emotion. Because nobody did anything to me. Nobody intentionally withheld whatever it is that I wanted. It just so happened that, I didn't have it. And maybe I go, oh, there's another Whole Foods 3 miles down the road. Maybe I'll take a chance and go there. Or maybe I'll ask the guy, hey, can you call the other Whole Foods and ask them if they have any more left? In other words, there's that proactivity, which is the A in our decal acronym, right? You take action. Because it may be that it's just a little bit more work to find the materials that you want. So creativity, ideally, is all the elements just come together and we can work in an uninterrupted manner and we can apply ourselves and we can focus and we can create the thing that we really want to make. But keep in mind that it's pretty common that there are interruptions and obstacles. So monitor how much emotion, how much negative emotion potentially thwarts that inspiring movement of spirit. But in general, examine your life and to what degree you allow yourself to be creative every day. I really think having some degree of creativity every day is important. And, be really grateful and in awe of the materials that are given to us here on the earth. I mean, the other day, I wanted to soundproof, actually, this room that I'm filming in now, because this is a chapel and it's a place for meditation. And I have some windows behind me. And there was, I could hear the street noise. I could hear the cars going by. It wasn't horrible. But, it's an irregular sound and it doesn't happen in a rhythmic manner. It's like you have a car go by and it gets loud as it passes and then it sort of drifts away. And I wanted to soundproof the windows. And I meditated on the various materials that I wanted and I thought through it. And I went to Lowe's, which is, a few miles from where I live. And they had everything. Now, I had to measure out the pieces of plywood. I wanted to do some research on, what's the best insulation to buy. And then there's another insulation soundboard. And then there's some rubber that I put around the wood. Because I know that sound has to travel through mediums. And when there's a rubber base that touches the wood, it makes it, harder for the sound to travel through. Anyways, I got all the materials. Some of the pieces of wood, I had them cut on the spot. I got everything together, and I was excited. But then there was, kind of the hard work. I had to measure things very carefully, and I had to cut certain things, and I had to screw certain things. And, it took probably about an hour and a half to do both windows. But then I sat down to meditate, and it was like, oh my God, this is a huge difference. It was so satisfying to have accomplished what I wanted. And it wasn't that expensive. I mean, I did have to lay out some money, but, I don't expect to get things for free. It's like I paid for it, and I have this tremendously enhanced experience now in this meditation room. So be grateful for the luxuries that you have in the areas in which you live, So try to be in a state of gratitude over the supplies that, whether you say God provides them, or the universe provides them, or the earth provides them, be grateful for these things and cultivate that attitude that we have a lot of freedom to create. And then go out there and create stuff. Make it a priority to experiment and express yourself in new ways. And you'll see that it generates an energy. It's a spirit of life that's coursing through you. And as always, pour as much love into the things that you create. What does that mean? That means you care very deeply about every aspect of what you're creating. Even if you get tired, maybe you take a break. But if you're sort of getting a little weary and you're tempted to do a shortcut, no, you go, I don't want to do any shortcuts. I want to apply love to this. I don't want to cheat myself because I'm a little bit tired or frustrated. If I'm tired or frustrated, I'll take a little break and come back to it. And as a result, the end that you have will be very satisfying. And you'll look forward to sharing it with the people you care about. And who knows, maybe your idea will really be something the world is ready for, and you'll have a good financial success if you can then, create the environment where people will purchase it.